If you were to ask most anglers, they'd likely confess that their cherished pastime isn't primarily about catching fish. Rather, it's the tranquil moments spent on calm waters that truly captivate them. Yet, every so often, the placid setting can morph into an intense spectacle. One summer, Captain Ben Chansey found himself at the end of his fishing line, wishing he were on terra firma. Prepare to be astounded when you see what he hauled from the depths, an encounter that undeniably warranted a larger vessel. In reality, capturing a fish in the open ocean is a far cry from the portrayals in movies and television. Out at sea, fish appear colossal, and they're more than willing to put up a fight. This lesson was etched into the memory of Captain Ben Chansey during a fateful day on the open ocean last summer. The day dawned sunny and inviting. Ben and a handful of friends, eager to seize the splendid weather, embarked on their boats and ventured out to sea. Once they'd ventured far enough from shore, Ben took the plunge into a flotation device, armed with his trusty fishing rod. For several minutes, Ben bobbed on the water's surface, his fishing line submerged in the teeming waters. This area had proven fruitful for fishing in the past, with numerous decent catches. Then it happened. A sudden, powerful tug on Ben's line, enough to drag his flotation device along. Ben, no stranger to a good old open sea tug-of-war, was poised for the challenge. Clutching firmly, he engaged in a fierce battle as the enigmatic creature thrashed and twisted, sending the small raft careening back and forth. For a brief moment, the fear of falling overboard gnawed at him, but he held his focus and maintained his grip. What lurked below? As the drama unfolded, Ben's friend, who was documenting the spectacle, pointed the camera downward, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mystery creature. It was evident that something substantial was lurking beneath the surface, but the ripples obstructed a clear view. Even Ben, floating mere feet above the creature, remained unsure of its identity. However, the fishing line remained ensnared, granting Ben the opportunity to bring it to the surface. What weighed down this enigmatic creature? Ben hoped it wasn't a perilous adversary. Summoning all this strength, Ben yanked on his fishing rod. To the astonishment of his watching friends, Ben gradually drew the mystery beast closer to the surface, where it began thrashing wildly as if possessed. After an arduous 15-minute battle, the creature seemed to yield to Ben's relentless determination. Ben's fishing rod steadied, and he slowly hoisted the enigmatic beast to the surface. Behold, it was a colossal Goliath grouper. With exhaustion etched on both Ben and the fish, he reeled it over to his raft, erupting in a victorious cheer. In this clash of man versus beast, man had undoubtedly emerged triumphant. While it undoubtedly took immense courage for Ben to grapple with such a behemoth from a tiny raft, just a few hundred miles west, a man named George Saber had his own deep-sea encounter underway. The remarkable catch unfolded off the coast of Corpus Christi, where George embarked on a day of fishing in the open ocean. Unlike Ben, who relied on a raft, George had chosen a kayak as his vessel of choice for this fateful day. For George, the fish didn't keep him waiting. Within minutes, he reeled in several fish, even spotting a sizable turtle gliding by. The ocean seemed particularly lively on this late afternoon. After landing several substantial bait fish, George cast out live bait as he drifted toward shore. With a flick of his wrist, he sent his largest bait piece into the murky depths. The bait meandered undisturbed for a while until George sensed a sharp pull on his line. Judging from the feel of the rod, he believed he'd hooked a stingray, a catch worth noting, though not one to keep. He gradually reeled in the creature toward his kayak. As the fish drew nearer to his boat, George realized he hadn't hooked a stingray at all. It was a small shark. However, before he could bring the little predator on board, George knew he had to tire it out first. Once the shark was sufficiently fatigued, George carefully hoisted it onto his kayak, intending to snap a few pictures with the diminutive shark. Given its size, George didn't anticipate much danger. But then, upon the shark's entry into the kayak, the situation took a menacing turn. The shark thrashed violently, lunging toward its captor. In a heart-pounding moment, it nearly took a bite out of George's speed. The shark aggressively snapped its teeth, wriggling perilously close to George and chomping on his seat before deeming the tough plastic an unappetizing target. Swiftly, George flipped the shark back into the water, preserving his fingers and toes. With digits intact, George gave the shark one final lift into the kayak. After capturing the perfect snapshot, he released the shark back into the water, putting an end to what could have been a calamitous day. While Ben and George experienced the toothy fright of their lives, thankfully, the shark in question was just a small fellow. They emerged unscathed, with those menacing jaws never coming into contact with their vulnerable skin. Regrettably for James White from California, his encounter with a formidable adversary yielded a more harrowing outcome. James White, a resident of Rohnert Park, California, once considered himself quite the angler. However, his perception of his fishing prowess took a dramatic shift during what should have been a routine day of casting off into the Pacific, but turned into an adrenaline-pumping escapade. Choosing a serene spot by the shores of Bodega Bay, not far from San Francisco, James anticipated a leisurely morning. As expected, the day began at a languid pace until he felt an unexpected tug on his fishing line. With his fishing rod firmly in hand, James responded to the long-awaited pull, but it was peculiarly more forceful than his usual encounters. The struggle to reel in the catch was intense, lasting a staggering 10 minutes as James recounted to NBC Bay Area. He later reflected, "The only way I think I was able to get the line back is because it was swimming towards me." As he persevered in his efforts, James caught sight of the aquatic creature drawing closer to the shallows. Still, he clung to his sturdy fishing rod, the wire stretched to its limits, when his eyes widened in sheer astonishment. To James's disbelief, he was hauling in a 6-foot-long 7-gill shark. Cue the Jaws theme music. Clearly not in the best frame of mind, James attempted to remove the hook from the shark's mouth, but it took an unfavorable turn. Reacting impulsively, the predator swiftly sunk its teeth into James's exposed and vulnerable ankle, turning the waters crimson with his blood. The shark's sharp, jagged upper teeth proved effective in holding onto its prey. The first bite punctured an artery. James revealed to NBC Bay Area, the pressure was intense. In that critical moment, James desperately cried out for help, hoping a fellow fisherman nearby would come to his aid, but his pleas went unheard. However, James White was the proud owner of a 1-year-old 100-pound pit bull named Darby. Darby had an unwavering devotion to James and was willing to do anything to protect him, even if it meant confronting a formidable ocean predator. While James was out fishing, Darby lounged contentedly in a nearby car, gazing out of the open windows. When he heard James's anguished cries for help, he immediately sprang into action. Upon reaching James and the shark, Darby's initial instinct was to bite the shark's gills. Regrettably, this agitated the massive toothy fish further, causing it to gnaw deeper into James's injured ankle, with blood continuing to pour into the water. Realizing that Darby's well-intentioned intervention was exacerbating the situation, James scolded his faithful dog, instructing him to back off. However, Darby, aware of his owner's dire predicament, had a backup plan. Darby repositioned and grabbed it by the tail. "He literally ran up the hill with it and pulled it off my leg," recounted the traumatized Californian to NBC Bay Area. James then hurled the shark back into the Pacific. Following this harrowing ordeal, James felt an even stronger bond with Darby, who had unquestionably earned the title of man's best friend. He shared with reporters, "He's been a part of the family from day one. Just now a little more." Despite his gnarly battle scars and photographic evidence, James encountered skepticism when recounting his extraordinary tale of a shark versus a dog. People found the story hard to believe, and James even had to show off his wounds and photos to convince a doubting friend. James's bond with Darby was irrevocably solidified, and thanks to the brave pit bull hero, he still had both of his legs. Encounters with deadly sea predators are undoubtedly experiences of sheer terror. James's encounter may have resembled a real-life Jaws incident, but the shark he faced was dwarfed by the colossal creatures that once roamed the ancient oceans. These prehistoric behemoths, like the megalodon, left traces of their terrifying existence, as evidenced by fossilized teeth found along modern-day coastlines. In 2015, a man named Denny Bland stumbled upon an intriguing object while strolling along the shores of North Topsail Beach, a popular surfing location in North Carolina. What he initially mistook for driftwood turned out to be something far more ominous. Much like our ancestors from centuries past who believed they'd found petrified dragon tongues, Denny had unwittingly picked up a fossilized tooth of a megalodon, an enormous prehistoric shark. Cynthia Crane, the director of the Aurora Fossil Museum in North Carolina, shed light on this remarkable find. The megalodon, a massive shark, inhabited ancient seaways during the Miocene-Pliocene era, which spanned approximately 15 to 5 million years ago. The colossal size of the fossilized tooth affirmed estimates of the megalodon's immense proportions, with a commonly held belief that a shark grows 10 feet for every inch of tooth. Therefore, a 6-inch tooth like Denny's find indicated a shark of staggering length, around 60 feet. At that colossal size, the megalodon shark dwarfed your typical great white shark, its modern-day descendant. But how did these sharks attain such extraordinary dimensions in the first place? Paleoecologist Dr. Catalina Pimiento ventured an explanation, suggesting, perhaps, she pondered, something was happening with the productivity and climate that led to this pattern, or it had to do with their prey and competition that drove the species to grow to such immense proportions. Denny, upon unearthing evidence of the shark, was overcome with exhilaration. He exclaimed, "I couldn't have been happier if I'd won $1 million. Even the smallest shark tooth gets you incredibly excited. I felt like I'd won the lottery." But he wasn't the sole beneficiary of this excitement. In fact, according to a photographer for the Surf City Gazette, 1 or 2 megalodon teeth typically washed up on that beach each year. One man from West Virginia would have been delighted to hear this news. Greg Smith, a former community relations director at Camden Clark Medical Center, later transitioned into a career as a firearm salesman. His enthusiasm for megalodon teeth spurred him to embark on a collection mission. "I was trying to think of something that would be great for both grandpa and grandson," Greg shared. Through his research, he learned about the megalodon shark and its colossal teeth. He sent his grandson on a quest for knowledge. After diligent research, Greg's grandson returned with newfound knowledge. He said, "Grandpa, it's a huge shark with a mouth as big as a garage." Thrilled that the shark had piqued his grandson's curiosity, Greg presented him with a massive tooth of his own, and the young boy was captivated. Over time, Greg expanded his collection of fossilized megalodon teeth until it became what he referred to as a vast collection. He wasn't exaggerating. As of 2018, his collection boasted over 1,000 megalodon teeth. Naturally, even the most ardent megalodon enthusiasts might breathe a sigh of relief that these gigantic creatures did not survive beyond the Pliocene era. Surprisingly, some remain skeptical about the extinction of these enormous animals. Numerous reports from off the Bava coast in Mexico claimed that a massive black shark regularly patrolled those waters. This shark was spotted so frequently that it even acquired a moniker, the Black Demon of Cortez. But was it a genuine phenomenon? If you had spoken to fisherman Eric Mack, you might have thought so. He asserted that the Black Demon rocked his small boat and displayed an enormous tail above the water's surface. Nevertheless, skeptics cast doubt on his account. After all, the waters off Bava were known for their diverse ecosystem, and Eric and others could have encountered a large whale shark or perhaps an exceptionally massive great white shark with skin anomalies. Could they ever ascertain the truth? Until these reports could be substantiated, collectors like Greg and Denny would keep legends such as the Black Demon of Cortez alive. As long as people continue to discover megalodon teeth along the coastline, we will always remember the astonishing creature that once shared our planet. Whether the megalodon still roams the depths of the Earth's oceans or has truly vanished, it remains extraordinary that such rare artifacts can wash up on public beaches. Indeed, some of the world's most significant discoveries have emerged entirely by chance. Few individuals understand this better than Jose Antonio Nivas, a humble farmer from the South American town of Carlos Spagazzini, just south of Buenos Aires, Argentina. Typically overshadowed by the nearby capital city, Carlos Spagazzini saw little excitement until one Christmas morning in December 2015 when Jose decided to take a walk on his property. During his stroll along the river that traversed his land, Jose and his faithful dog stumbled upon a remarkable sight. Jutting out from the river, partially buried and encrusted with mud, was an enormous gray object. Closer examination revealed that it was far more than a mere rock. The object's surface appeared scaly, reminiscent of snakeskin, and it bore a hole, a result of a collapsed portion. Recognizing the significance of his discovery, Joe's couldn't contain his excitement as he rushed home to share the news with his family, exclaiming, "Hey, I just found an egg that looks like it came from a dinosaur." Joe's was met with baffled expressions from his family members who initially dismissed it as a joke. However, the truth behind the object was even more remarkable. When Josie first unearthed the object, it was encrusted with mud, making it difficult to gauge its size. As he diligently removed the surface grime, the true enormity of the object became apparent. It measured over 3 feet in width. Attempting to lift the egg from the shallow water, Joe's discovered it was incredibly heavy. It was so weighty that he couldn't manage it on his own. This raised questions about the object's true nature. No egg could be so heavy. Eager to unravel the mystery, Joe shared the discovery with local authorities, who began investigating. Initially, they suspected the object to be an armored shell, but the question remained, the shell of what? To answer this question, they needed to delve into the past and explore the world of the Glyptodon, an ancient creature resembling an immense armadillo that roamed South America over 15,000 years ago. Josie had stumbled upon the remarkably well-preserved remains of one such creature. However, skeptics raised questions about why the shell was found in an upright position. Shouldn't these heavy creatures have perished on their backs or sides? Furthermore, how had it remained buried for thousands of years with so few blemishes? Through extensive research and investigation, experts confirmed the legitimacy of the shell. The mud had preserved it over the centuries. Nonetheless, one mystery remained, an additional hole beyond those for the head and tail. Researchers surmised that if the damage did not occur while the creature was underground, it might have contributed to its demise. Whatever caused that injury must have been sizable in its own right. While cousins of the Glyptodon have been discovered throughout South America, none have been as well preserved as the one Josie found on his property. It's truly remarkable to think that it had been lying there all those years.